Hello and welcome to MVP, the Master's Voice podcast on Mediabrief.com. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla, and with me today is a distinguished guest. On this episode, this guest leads a company that I have enormous respect for. It has redefined the Atmanirbhar Bharat mission and walks the talk miles ahead of its other respected contemporaries in the space of medtech. The company is Healthium Medtech, and my guest today is Anish Bafna, Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director at Healthium Medtech. Anish, welcome to MVP, the Master's Voice podcast on Mediabrief.com.
Thank you very much, Pavan, for having me over. It's a privilege to be here on your show.
Thank you, Anish, for giving us the time. It's a pleasure and a privilege to have you on the episode, and I'm sure that all my listeners can look forward to a really insightful conversation with you. And thanks also to Dr. Arun Abraham Ishaw of AdFactors PR for having made this interaction possible. And now, Anish, let me quickly introduce you to our listeners on MVP, the Master's Voice podcast. So by your leave, here goes. Anish Bafna became the CEO and MD of Healthium Medtech in August 2018. Under Anish's leadership, Healthium has indeed undergone a transformational journey on quality, compliance and R&D. Anish has strengthened the leadership team with diverse talent and charted the place for the company's growth organically and inorganically through several mergers and acquisitions. Anish comes into the medical devices sector with more than 30 years of operational and general management experience in the healthcare industry. Prior to joining Healthium Medtech, Anish was President Japan for Baxter Healthcare. He has worked across in countries like Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, India, Singapore and Japan. Anish has a proven track record of building sustainable and profitable businesses with a strong focus on business improvement. Additionally, he's an avid reader, he plays tennis, and he loves to delve in history. So Anish, welcome to the episode, and let's get on to the business end of the conversation. Anish, my first question. Tell me how you thought of creating Healthium Medtech. What opportunity did you see and how did you go about it to end up creating such an amazing company? After all, it was a fragmented market in India way back in, 2018? And the medical devices industry was strongly dominated by MNCs and Indian players were small. So please tell me, how did the thought come in and how did you go about making such a wonderful company? And let me summarize it for you, what you created. Today, Healthium is the largest direct sales force in medical devices and has created access to more than 18,000 hospitals and 40,000 surgeons, covering a whopping 90% of districts in India with secondary healthcare facilities. 1 in 5 surgeries globally uses a Healthium product. So Anish, all yours. How did you go about it setting Healthium Medtech up?
Pavan, first of all, thank you for the very kind words you've used to introduce us. I'll just take you through the journey that we've been going through over the last 4 years, and it's indeed been very interesting.
Right.
You see, the thing about India is that we've done a phenomenal job on the pharmaceutical front. So you have, large, now transnational companies based out of India like Dr. Reddy's Lab, Lupin, Divi's and the likes. And over the past 30, 40 years, these companies have really evolved to not only take significant share in India and emerge as the topmost companies in India, but you create a great name for us globally. Unfortunately, in the medtech, and what is medtech? Medtech is medical devices that are used either in surgeries or in labs or to diagnose diseases, etc. In the medtech front, India really doesn't have a large name to boast of, and unfortunately, more than 80% of what we use is imported. Now, this is completely opposite of what we've done in the pharma industry. And one of my thoughts was that, there has to be not only one, but 100 companies over a period of time that sort of not only cater to the Indian healthcare system, but are able to make global plays out of India. Because what you really need to be successful in the field like ours is pharmaceutical skills, R&D skills, engineering skills, polymer skills, metallurgical skills, and you have pretty much all of that out here in India. The question is, you need companies that have the capability of harnessing them and creating products that would be admired by the surgeon fraternity, the doctor fraternity, and in hospitals across the globe.
Okay.
So that sort of was the genesis of Healthium about 4 years back. We decided that there is an opportunity. If we do the right things, we will be able to create a company of scale. And our major vision was that can we help create the ecosystem in India where hundreds of Healthiums will foster over a period of time. And we started off by because in our field what happens is that the regulatory pathway is fairly long.
Right.
By the time you do R&D, create a product, get regulatory approvals, launch them both in India and internationally, it's a fairly long process. So the way to sort of approach the market was to buy out a few companies here in India, bring them together, and we did that under the aegis of Healthium, and then start building on that sort of platform that we had built. Trying to sort of not only cater to the domestic market but also to the international market. So that was how Healthium was created about 4 years back, and I must say it's been a very interesting journey.
Amazing. And look at where you've reached. By the end of 2021, absolutely the largest independent medtech company in India. Amazing. And your diverse portfolio. Tell me about your portfolio, the Healthium portfolio. How many SKUs across so many products?
So what we did, Pavan, was our focus was the operation theatre, because this is a fairly diverse area, and there are millions of SKUs, thousands of business lines one can create. So our genesis was that let us focus on the operation theatre, and we wanted to make the surgeon's life easier.
Right.
Today, a surgeon is dependent on multiple vendors, multiple suppliers for the products that they need for operating a patient. And we said, let this be the beginning. We'll focus our products on the operation theatre, and then we keep on expanding beyond that. And over a period of the last 4 years, we've actually created 4 verticals. One vertical is advanced surgery, which is essentially the sutures,
right,
or wound closure, as we would be known for. So when a patient is being stitched after an operation theatre, you use sutures, you use other hemostatic products to sort of make sure that the wound doesn't open up. So we have emerged as the largest manufacturer of sutures, not only in India, but one of the largest in the world.
Wonderful.
And our distinction is that we manufacture the suture needles also. Now, suture needle manufacturing is actually a very difficult job, because you take a small piece of wire and you give it 52,000 different, shapes.
Wow.
And what is important here is precision. Because every time the doctor uses, let's say in a particular stitch, if a doctor has to use 10 or 15 different bites, as we call them, the doctor wants to make sure that all the 10-15 bites have the same amount of precision. And that is a very difficult process to make. So we have, we are one of the few integrated manufacturers of sutures where we manufacture our own needles. And, currently we are the largest needle manufacturer across the globe.
Wonderful.
As you mentioned, 1 in 5 surgeries across the globe uses our needle. And we export our products to about 80 countries. So that is one vertical, the advanced surgery vertical.
Wonderful. So tell me about your footprint in India and the world, and then we'll go about talking about the other 3 verticals that you've created.
Pavan, when I came in, we crafted the vision for the organization, and the vision was access to precision medtech for every patient globally. Right? The key words here being access, because we wanted to make sure that we are able to supply a product to every nook and corner of the world. And the other was precision, because if you're being operated upon, the last thing you want is a surgeon using a product that is not, very precise.
Right.
So that sort of was the ethos with which we started building the company. And our focus was that the tier 3, 4, 5 markets in India are relatively, underpenetrated.
Okay.
Most of our healthcare segment is dependent on tier 1 and 2. But the future, if I look at 5-10 years down the line, the future will be access to precision medtech, in the tier 3, 4, 5 towns in India.
Correct.
And which is why we created India's largest medtech field force. We have 350 people.
Wow.
And these 350 people are covering 40,000 surgeons across the country, and we cover 18,000 hospitals.
Wonderful.
So we have a distribution network of about 1,200 distributors across the country. And our representatives go and detail our product to the surgeons, to the operation theater staff, and to the hospitals, and create a demand, and this is fulfilled by the distributors that we have. I am not sure if anybody else in India has this kind of reach. And so our initial view was that let's first focus on tier 3, 4, 5,
Right.
and then we move to tier 2 and 1. So as we speak, we are spread all across the country in India, and our products are registered and selling in roughly 80 countries, other than ours.
Wonderful.
And what is unique about us is that, while in COVID, surgeries had really plateaued or in most cases gone down, we were actually able to grow our business because of our geographical diversification and, our supply chain readiness.
Wonderful, wonderful, really laudable. Another thing I know is, and I'd like you to expatiate on it, is the amazing infrastructure growth at the manufacturing space, that level. You have factories, you have units that manufacture all these precision products which are in high demand in India and outside. You export them to 80 countries worldwide. So another thing that you're doing with, as I think in my view, as a combination or through a combination of the presence that you have across 18,000 hospitals and 40,000 surgeons across the country, plus your manufacturing, okay, is that in tier 4 and 3, you're actually enabling the best provision of healthcare across. So just tell me about your manufacturing facilities in India.
Well, the plan was always that we wanted to make a global organization.
Right.
And, one of the things sort of we were very clear of as we were coming in is we will not sell a product that we are not comfortable using on our own family member.
Wow.
And that was, the sort of beginning point with which we started investing, not only in manufacturing upgrades, but also in quality. So one of the first moves that I had done when I came in was to get a quality head of a major multinational to come and join us. And he was given a free hand to focus on the quality management systems we had across the organization. And he's done a phenomenal job, of course, of putting up right there when it comes to product quality. But that was, sort of how we started. And today, as we speak, we have 8 plants across India and China, 7 in India and 1 in China.
Wow.
And we have a footprint all across the country. Now, what is very important to sort of get a seal of quality, at least in our field, is this USFDA registration. Because it's a very stringent quality system that one goes through. Not that the Indian CDSO quality systems are not that stringent, but the USFDA is even more difficult to obtain. So currently, out of the 8 plants, we have 4 plants that have USFDA. We have a TGA approval from Australia. We have ISO certification, of course. And along these
EU MDR, I think.
EU MDR is what allows us to supply our products
Lovely.
to pretty much everywhere in the world now, because the EU MDR is a fairly difficult notification to, or licensing agreement to sort of come to.
Right.
You need a lot of clinical data. You need bioequivalent studies. You need to be original in sort of your dossiers that you put up.
Sure.
And we've been able to do that. So, over a period of the last 4 years, these 8 manufacturing plants with USFDA, the EU certification, TGA, really allows us to compete with the best of the best in the world. And with the manufacturing scale that we have created in terms of in terms of volumes and hence economies of scale, allow us to then also, live up to our vision of access, because ultimately cost does become a very important factor in any purchase decision.
Wonderful, wonderful. In the space that you are, which is critical to life saving and to health enhancement and recovery and all of that, you've done amazing work. So before we proceed, and remember, I know that there are 3 more verticals I want to talk to you about. Before we go on, give me where I am the layman, give me the idiot's guide. Just give me the bird's eye view, the back of the envelope size of the healthcare space in India. And then we'll speak about the medtech space, the size and where you are.
So, Pavan, globally, as you're aware, the overall healthcare industry is a fairly large industry, and you have different segments. You have the hospital segment, you have the pharmaceutical segment, you have the biotech segment, and then you have the medtech segment. But clearly the medtech segment, which is about $400 billion globally, is on a fast growth track, because we sort of take over where normal interventions with medicines stop working. That's how I would put it. And then the patient really, one is the diagnosis space, the other is the curative space, or the intervention space, where most of us operate out of. Now that globally is, as I mentioned, it's about a $400 billion market. But India is a bit uniquely poised because our medtech market is relatively small.
Okay.
We do only about $7 to $8 billion of medtech. And if I were just to compare it with China is roughly about 10 times our size. Now, most businesses are roughly about 4x to the Indian business, predominantly because of a higher GDP constituent in that country. But 1 is to 10x on a similar size population is a fairly large gap that we need to fulfill. Now, a lot of it, stems from the fact that we are characterized by scarcity of infrastructure and skilled workforce. Our healthcare system, we have a low bed density, 0.5 beds per thousand, versus China, which is 4.3 beds per thousand. We have 0.9 physicians per thousand individuals, while the global average is 1.6 per thousand individuals. We do about 2,000 surgeries per 100,000 people, while other emerging markets, I'm not comparing ourselves with the developed world, do about 4,500 surgeries per 100,000 people. Now, this is a function of infrastructure. This is a function of insurance and reimbursement. It's a function of availability of products, and as I mentioned, capability issues where you need the right amount of surgeons or hospital staff, etc.
Right.
But that's where we are as a country currently. And this is where I'm seeing a lot of focus by the government now in terms of boosting up. On the supply side, you're seeing a huge amount of work that is happening on infrastructure development, new hospitals, new bed, more focus around the tier 2, 3, 4, 5s, availability of the best-in-class medical equipment in all these hospitals. So on one side, that is happening. The other side, the government is also very clear of the fact that a country like us cannot have such a high dependence on imports. And, one of the first things they did was to set up the PLI scheme for our industry. But, increasingly, we are feeling a lot of support, or we are seeing a lot of support from the government in terms of driving a self-reliant industry. There's a lot of focus around Make in India now. There's a lot of focus around creating a medical device ecosystem in the country. And, 4 new tech parks have been floated for people like us to sort of consolidate our manufacturing. A lot of support is coming in terms of R&D facilities as well. And if I look at the next 20 years, I would think that, this business should grow significantly, not only in terms of harnessing the skills of all we have, for the Indian ecosystem, but clearly we have everything going for us to create a large, or take away a large market share across the globe. And all that we are doing currently is, to push in that direction and to ensure that we get there one day. So early days, but I think, the necessary infrastructure is coming in place for that.
Lovely. What kind of import substitution or savings do you know, because you would have the numbers, has Healthium actually managed for, and therefore therethrough empowered the ecosystem, the economy in India on the medtech, health tech side of things?
So, we are still very small players, but if you look at India, the export of medical device from India is roughly about 1.1 billion.
Okay. And
the imports is also roughly to that particular tune as we speak. Probably more than that.
Okay.
Because, the import constituent is fairly large. Now, as I mentioned, roughly 80% plus dependence on imports currently. And if I were to crystal gaze over a period of the next 15 to 20 years, I would imagine that, and you can't decimate it, there'll always be a lot of tech development that happens in our field across the globe, and our patients have the right to get those products. But I think that it'll come to about 30 to 35% over a period of the next 10-15 years, which means that there is tremendous scope for companies like us to grow, and continuously keep on driving growth of our organizations. But what sort of can be a differentiating factor is that because of the economies of scale we have, because of the talent base we have, because of the better value proposition we have, we might actually be able to, in the next 10-15 years, take on the global behemoths in their own, markets. And, the overall size of the industry might sort of be very, very different from what I'm envisaging at this point in time. So my view is that, we'll always have dependence on imports. It'll go down over a period of time. But if you look at the overall size and scale, the imports might just dwarf in terms of the exports that we may be able to create.
Lovely. In fact, I'm going to replace might with will, because this crystal gazing, as you call it, is coming from somebody who had the vision way back in 2018 to step out of a comfort zone in beautiful Japan, in a space where he was well ensconced and doing really, really well for himself, and said, let me do this. Let me come in. Let's create something which has become healthier. It's amazing. Really wonderful.
Oh, and I don't deserve the credit. We've got a great team out here that sort of pushes on the agenda. I think all we had was that the potential existed, the dream existed, and we said, let's just take it on and build on it. Frankly, we didn't know how the next few years will pan out for us. And just when we had set the basic pillars in place, COVID had come and hit us at that point in time.
Right.
Where at least in our business, surgeries were down significantly. But it was sort of the resilience of the team that we were able to grow and increase our presence in not only India but internationally. And we came out unscathed, and it's turning out well for us now.
No, and more strength to you, because what you do has a direct and a very, very important, critical impact on health, on survival, on life itself. So wonderful. I doff my hat to you. Tell me, if we look at the India perspective, you've already given me a very decent deep dive, actually. A bit of a deep dive, back of the envelope deep dive, if I can use that oxymoron. But very useful, very, very nice. I was thinking of the health tech and med tech solutions overview from the India perspective. And you did mention that 80 to 85% of medical devices are imported. So which are the countries that are exporting to India? I mean, I see even a Turkey exporting to India. And, I'm not being deprecating at all, but I can understand a Japan, China, Germany. But then Turkey also exporting, and then high-end medical devices like medical imaging tools and cancer diagnostics and, polymerase chain reaction technologies, arthroscopy instruments and consumables. So that's amazing. I hope, sincerely pray that you will be able to sort of turn things around. What are your, when you look at the future and you have your plan charted out, I'm sure, for the next 5 years and much more, what aspects of the medtech space will you be focusing more on, apart from always, let's say, strengthening what you already have as amazing strengths and which are your contributions to the whole world of medtech and in India? So what do you see as, if I look at not a SWOT, just look at the opportunities for you. The opportunities, obviously, I'm sure you are driven by purpose. Your profit first is human happiness of the people across their health. And obviously the benefits that come to you from that, absolutely justifiable and definitely desirable. And I'm sure you run the company more. I think maybe you balance the P&L and the balance sheet aspects together. But what are your most important opportunities, visible opportunities, low-hanging fruit, as if I may use this very inappropriate term in respect to what we are talking about, human health, for growth and for helping import substitution in India?
So, the evolution of such companies is to sort of be focused on a narrow area. And then as these companies grow in size over a period of time, they keep on adding more verticals, more product suites, because they are going to the same hospitals. They are leveraging the distribution channel much more effectively with a larger range of products over a period of time. Now, phase one for us is to be very focused on the surgical consumable segment. And by surgical consumable, these are day-to-day products that surgeons use, where in most of the cases, they use these products themselves, and hence the need for precision, because surgeons are tactile, and in the middle of a surgery, if something goes wrong, it really spoils the case for a surgeon. So it's very important for them to have the right product. So that sort of is the key that we are focused on, that in these surgical chambers, once a patient has been rolled in, what is the range of products that we can bring in, and keep on adding on to that particular portfolio, so that the surgeon knows that they are working with a reliable partner in this particular space. We compete predominantly with large multinational corporations, and again, you have a slew of them who have gained expertise in different areas, right? So the orthopedic space is very interesting. The implant space is very interesting. We are looking at spine, we are looking at joints. But our focus is on bringing differentiated products to the fore. We don't want to compete by copying somebody else's product, which is why we are investing significantly on the R&D front. As we speak, we have 3 R&D centers in the country. We have 83 people in our R&D department, which for our size of a company is initial investment phase. And in the next couple of weeks, we are setting up a Healthium Innovation Center in Noida, which is going to be a standalone building, which will focus on creating products that are futuristic in nature.
That's wonderful.
But our current focus is on products which use metallurgical skills, plastic skills, and engineering skills. And that's how we want to sort of cater to the surgeons. The second area of focus for us is infection control. I mean, you've all heard of antibacterial resistance and how hospital-induced infections are a major cause of concern, pretty much across the globe.
Right.
So the antibacterial nature of creating products which are antibacterial in nature and that can help prevent infection is a second area of focus, where we are looking at bringing over a period of time a slew of products that will not only help in the surgery, but make sure that post-operative care or pre-operative surgical infections are prevented. So that sort of is our immediate here and now. And I think it's an evolutionary phase. While we are not into the large equipment space right now.
Correct.
I think the future, if it brings us the opportunity, we'll be more than happy to look into that.
Wonderful, wonderful. And the focus is on areas that actually all of India, regardless of tier 1, 2, 3 or 4 of the back of beyond, definitely needs on healthcare. So really good. More strength to you. So we spoke about 4 verticals. You referred to 4. You spoke about advanced surgery. Tell me about the other 3 verticals that are am I wrong in saying that they are your 4 pillars now that are driving you forward and empowering you to achieve your future vision also?
Absolutely. So, the other range of products that we've created is a brand called Ceronix.
Okay.
Ceronix is an arthroscopic division of ours. Now, arthroscopy is what you do for meniscal repair. It's more for sport injuries, where you tear a ligament, you have problems with your knees and shoulders, and instead of going for a full knee implant or a shoulder implant, you repair that particular tissue. And that sort of surgery is called arthroscopy.
Okay.
So we have emerged as, and this has happened only over a period of a short period of time. We have taken on large multinationals head on in this particular front.
Wow.
And we currently have the largest range of shoulder and knee implants in the country, even more than the large multinationals have.
Lovely.
Now, what differentiates us is that most of them are patented. We've got 64 patents, already granted or filed.
Lovely.
And Ceronix has launched about 50 shoulder anchors for the first time in India.
Wow.
Now, in a market dominated by MNCs, to just come up with this kind of a product portfolio allows us, if nothing else, at least boosts our confidence in our ability to create products.
Absolutely.
And we recently launched a patented and completely indigenously designed meniscal repair device called SureStitch, which has been very well received in the market. The point being, we are trying to differentiate ourselves by creating products that are very specific to the Indian bone. These are products that we want to take internationally over a period of time. This is a fairly new vertical, just about 3.5-4 years old, but it already is gaining a lot of traction across the country. We are spending a lot of efforts in terms of training doctors, doing a lot of cadaveric workshops, and our R&D process is fairly stringent, where each we invite doctors to come and mutilate our products to the extent possible so that we can make the strongest of the products. And that sort of vertical is what I feel really holds us in good stead in the future. Arthroscopy is a $5.4 billion business globally. In India, it's still a small market but growing exponentially. So if we are able to scale this business, then I think the overall scale of the opportunity is very large.
Excellent. So vertical number 1 is advanced surgery, number 2 arthroscopy. What is number 3 and 4?
Number 3 is wound care.
Okay.
So, traditionally what happens in post-surgical care, Pavan, is that they apply povidone iodine, then they apply a gauge, and then they sort of
close
that particular wound, and they ask you to go after a few days. Now, in the process, the gauge may start absorbing the exudate or the pus, and it may get infectious.
Okay.
You are not able to take a shower because it is not waterproof. And what we have come up with is a fairly simple product. It's like a band-aid for post-surgical care. It is antibacterial in nature. It manages the exudate very well. So the pus gets absorbed, and hence the chances of infection are low. It is non-sticky to the extent that, of course, it's adhesive, but when you take out, it doesn't pain the patient at all.
Okay.
It doesn't cause any kind of trauma, and it is waterproof.
Lovely.
So we have launched this product recently in a new range of products, which is wound care. And our idea is over a period of time, we will keep launching various products that are in the wound care category. So the second product that we are going to be launching is a product for diabetic foot ulcer. Now, diabetic foot ulcer is a fairly known problem, and in a country of our size,
and a serious one.
Very serious one. And we really need a solution so that the patients don't go through large open wounds that can really be very, very painful for them. So we are currently doing trials on this particular product. In the next couple of months, we are going to be launching one of the first indigenous products for a diabetic foot ulcer. And our plan is that over a period of time, we'll keep launching products that are antibacterial in nature and that prevent the surgical wounds or any kind of wounds to convert into infectious, difficult to treat diseases.
Lovely. Very good indeed. So advanced surgery, arthroscopy, wound care products, and the fourth vertical of Healthium Medtech.
So the fourth vertical is urology. These are products which are post-operative care in nature. So for example, urine bags, leg bags, urine meters. Essentially, once you've been rolled out of the operation theatre, you need to manage continence well.
Okay.
And for that, we have these products. Now, these products are predominantly sold in the European hemisphere and more specifically in UK.
Okay.
So we have emerged as the number 3 player in the UK in the leg bag segment in the last few years.
Lovely.
And again, it's been the same strategy as in India, where we've taken on by providing high quality products that the multinationals were supplying to the market and taken on market share in those markets. Currently, the focus of the urology range is in the European hemisphere because it's a reimbursed market. But over a period of time, of course, we would also look at bringing these products to India. So these are the 4 verticals we have currently, where patient is rolled into the operation theatre. During the operation, if you need an implant, we have the arthroscopic implants. To stitch the wound, you need sutures or any other wound closure products. We have that. For wound care, which is post putting the suture, you need to bandage the patients. We have that. And when the patient is rolled out, we have the urology products. So that's sort of how we are building the continuum of care for our patients and for our hospitals.
Lovely. You spoke about manufacture and you spoke about 8 solid facilities with all the certifications that they need, and they all have them, and they produce really global world-class products. So even the arthroscopic implants, etc., are all manufactured by you, by Healthium in India?
Yes, everything that we sell is predominantly manufactured here. We do have a sort of investment in the company that manufactures some of the products for us.
Okay.
But the entire manufacturing system and quality is controlled by us.
Lovely, very, very inspiring, I would say very uplifting, this entire dedication to good work and the kind of results that you have achieved for and through Healthium, Anish, you and your team. So there are many players in the medtech space. How does Healthium compare? What are the USPs? What are the strengths of Healthium? What keeps you ahead and has kept you ahead over these years?
So from an Indian perspective, Pavan, the Indian medical device market is quite fragmented. There are very few large players that can focus on global quality and innovation standards and produce the required medical device and consumables that are both locally required. You have to have economies of scales, you need to have investments in R&D, you need to have a sort of largest team that has the capability of taking these products to the end customer. And these means investments up front, which we said, and to my mind, it's a matter of time before 100 Healthiums get created, and they should, to support the growth of our overall ecosystem and industry. I guess those who have been ahead of the curve might, if they do the right things, disproportionately benefit from the size of the opportunity both in India and internationally. But what India really helps you to do is, if you build economies of scale, A, you are able to provide value, but B, you are able to leverage these economies of scale and take your products internationally. And all said and done, when you are able to, in developed markets where there's a burgeoning healthcare cost, if you are able to provide exactly the same value, or in some cases better value, at reasonable prices, there are enough and more takers who would want you. And we've seen that's exactly how the pharmaceutical industry has played out. So I think competition is a part and parcel, and we encourage competition to also grow because the market itself is so underpenetrated. And I was talking to one of the largest cardiac surgeons in the country, and his view was that we are doing 1/3 the number of cardiac surgeries we should be doing in our country. So there is room for a lot of players to clearly create great quality products and grow in this market, leverage the manufacturing and R&D footprint and the talent base of India, and take their company internationally. But I would say that there are three things that we focused on, which were the values of the organization.
Okay.
One was agility, the other was collaboration, and the third one was inquisitiveness. And if you look at the value systems that traditional organizations have, this is slightly different, because agility was about us being responsive to market requirements. The question was, can you create the iPhone before the market even knows that there is a requirement for an iPhone?
Right.
Collaboration was that we will collaborate with the ecosystem. There's nothing that we can do on our own. And in some cases, we are even ready to collaborate with the competition if that means the betterment of the patient.
Right.
And the third was inquisitiveness. Constantly keep on asking, what can we do better? How do we innovate? My one question to my leadership team is that, what can disrupt us? What will close us down eventually?
Right.
And can we be our own disruptors? Can we create products that will shut down our existing business and pave the way for a new one?
Wow. And in fact, what you've gone and done is put up a physical, literal temple to inquisitiveness in Noida with your innovation center. Wonderful. You really do walk the talk. And I think all these things together are what have helped Healthium grow in double digits on top line in a market that has, had a negative growth. And you also work a lot with, I think, academia and providers to promote learning. You are helping the category also at a very basic and a very important, crucial level of knowledge enhancement and skills enhancement. Tell me, how do you partner with academia and providers, etc., to promote learning and innovation?
So this happens at various levels, Pavan. One is the time that we spend predominantly with the policy makers to sort of not educate would be not the right word, but to work with them in terms of defining how this ecosystem in India can be created, where lots of Healthiums can grow over a period of time, and where India can actually become a net exporter instead of importer over a period of time. So that is one area that sort of we are focused on. Again, we are very marginal players there. Our contribution is limited. This has been going on for a very long time, but based on our experience, we try and pitch in there. But what we do is we work with a lot of key opinion leaders in the country in terms of understanding the problems they are facing. We are more focused on understanding what are the issues that need resolution, and then our engineering and design team then works on trying to create products that can satisfy their requirement. That sort of feeds into the R&D, and eventually, not all, but I guess 1 in 10, 1 in 20 do make it as a product. The third is, the education piece, where we have tied up with the Apollo Hospital. We've set up a center of excellence at Apollo Chennai. We are doing a lot of cadaveric workshops across the country, but more specifically here in Bangalore, since we are based out here, and it is easier for us to manage those kind of activities from here. We have a team that sort of goes and visits the hospitals in the tier 3, 4, 5s, works closely with surgeons in understanding the new areas that are of interest to them. For example, laparoscopy is a big area of interest for them, and that's where we sort of bring in experts from either India or some of them internationally as well, who can work with them in enhancing skill development programs to help them improve their skills. So these are some of the things that we do in order to ensure that the ecosystem gets created and works to support each other.
Lovely. So you mentioned it's very interesting that you actually go right deep down and approach everything from exactly the bottom up, right? For solutions and for ideas that maybe 2 out of 20 see the light of day as products. So there's a whole lot of investment. Give me an example of how you work with key opinion leaders, co-opt their knowledge and their advice into the kind of stuff that you create.
So what happens is that, these are the practitioners. They know what works best for their patients.
Okay.
And their options are two when it comes to their problem-solving problem issues. One is that they can approach large multinationals, but then large multinationals don't necessarily have the sort of bandwidth to take on each and every surgeon's opinion and sort of try to put that on a platform. I mean, not that every idea will work, but at least to test most of these ideas. For us, just because we are based out of India, our R&D centers are out of India, it becomes very easy for us to work with them, take that problem statement and put it to our design department and start trying to find a solution to that. So what we have is advisory boards, on cardiac surgeries, on arthroscopic or orthopedic surgeries, on antibacterial or infection control.
Got it.
And these key opinion leaders, then brainstorm. We call out the problem statement for them. We create prototypes, they try the prototypes. It's an iterative process. It doesn't get created, product doesn't get created immediately sometimes. It's a huge iterative process, 6-8 months, where you keep on making those design changes, keep on going back to the key opinion leader, and then finally you bring the product to fruition. And that's where, I'd mentioned earlier, this product Short Stitch on the arthroscopy side came together because, we were able to, we prolonged the process of iteration, but we got it right the first time when the final product was launched. So that's how these sort of key opinion leaders, we harness the immense knowledge they have.
Wonderful, wonderful. And all for the benefit of general health across the country and the world. Very good. So, Anish, tell me, you have great plans, and I know that given the resources or given the opportunity, I don't think you're limited by resources at all to meet any opportunity, but then there will always remain this human resources, the talent kind of gap. So how will Healthium find the necessary human resources to meet the scalability plans, to meet the national and international demand for the kind of quality medtech products that Healthium is famous for?
The good thing, Pavan, is we are in a country where we have, possibly in my mind, the best talent there is, not only in our field, but pretty much, all spheres of life. It is about, ensuring that they get the necessary mentorship so that they can develop. But when we entered, the market about 4 years back, we went through a transformational journey on people, process, practice, compliance, quality, branding of Healthium as a company. And many of our senior leaders and managers came with global experience from large companies.
Okay.
Now, this was required because, the large multinationals are the one that have sort of, created large footprints, not only in India, but internationally. But this sort of brought to us a proven track record on growth. And these leaders have helped us attract a very strong talent pool from both multinationals and Indian players.
Okay.
Our L&D programs has gone through a sea change during the pandemic, with large number of employees being upskilled. We used the opportunity of the lockdown fairly well. And mind you, we were one of the companies that sort of was the first to market. We never shut down our manufacturing plants during the lockdown.
Wow.
We switched on our corporate office on the 4th of May 2020, and our field force was out in the market from 4th May onwards. So day 1 we had 36 people, day 2 we had 87 people. By the end of the week, our entire team was out in the market.
Wow.
And that really got us a lot of respect. So while hospitals were not open to allowing people to come in, the very fact that we were there, got us a lot of goodwill from the surgeon and the hospital community, because most other players came out fairly late, and that sort of is what we harnessed. We've also grown inorganically by acquiring companies and added to our talent pool. For example, our Chief Innovation Officer was the head of a company that we bought. And, he has a tremendous track record in creating great products. So we appointed him as a Chief Innovation Officer. We've added quality and manufacturing teams. Engineering team has been expanded, and we've added biotech now.
Okay.
Chemical skills post-acquisition, so that, we are also able to create products of different genres.
Wow.
With the spurt in exports, we've added a lot of talent internationally. But what I've seen, Pavan, is, it really hasn't been that difficult to attract talent, as long as you are able to sensitize the cause that you are going after. Once they appreciate the vision, once they appreciate what you are trying to do. I've seen that, a lot of time talent has walked to us and said that they would want to work with somebody like us.
Lovely.
And contribute in, selling products of great quality, or marketing products, or creating products of great quality. It's not going to be an easy ride. The markets are back, economy is looking up. There will be definitely companies with better pay scales and better benefits that they'll bring to the fore. But I'm reasonably sure that, we will continue to attract good talent and keep on building on the base. Because the leadership is very strong, and, it's good talent will attract good talent in the organization.
Excellent. Also the fact that in the wake of, and I hope the wake is an accurate description, and that the pandemic is actually going to get the hell out of our lives now very soon. And I think it nearly is out, so touch wood to that. But in the wake of the pandemic now, and as a result of all the sufferings that the pandemic actually caused, everybody's become far more, let's say, purpose-driven or aware of their responsibility to others also, and it's not something that they wear like some grand ribbon on their shoulder, but it's internalized. So I think this whole purpose that underlines all that you do, sure, you're in a business, sure, you have to monetize well and then pump that money back into creating more goodness and be better purpose driven. But this purpose thing, I think, this aspect is going to really be a big magnet for you, because today even our Gen Z, our millennials, they're all very, very conscious. So yeah, more strength to you. At an individual level, at a company level, you are empowering the whole space really well through your innovative products and through all the other ecosystem enabling initiatives that you have set up. And they actually are bearing fruit in 80 countries across the world, and more than 90% of every district covered in India. So what I want to ask you now, Anish, is that at the policy level, with your peers, with the kind of think tanks which hopefully will have more people like you, what kind of time, what kind of effort, what kind of contribution do you give or invest into helping healthcare overall and the medtech space in particular in India grow? Advising government, advising policy, advising departments, the associations. What is your time that you spend over there, and how do you try to do it?
Yeah, so I must confess, Pavan, that the time that I've personally given to this space has been rather limited. But I do work very closely with associations like CII, NetHealth, Wiki.
Okay.
Because the agenda is very simple. There is a high potential for decreasing our medical device imports. and increasing our exports to other countries, right? I mean, that opportunity is the single largest opportunity. All of us have to work together.
Amazing.
And we can achieve this by investing in R&D, by creating products that are specific to us, but then, are not copycat products of products that, somebody else is already selling. Create products of very high, the quality quotient becomes very important out here, because, in large countries like us, you will have all kind of manufacturing suppliers, and there has to be a certain quality norm that the country should abide by, that allows for the patient at the end to get the desired result. It's important to get global accreditations, the USFDA, TGA, etc. Not for any other reason, but when somebody else has done the hard work of setting some very stringent mechanisms in place, we might as well benefit from that in terms of upping our product quality. So, in here we've been working with industry bodies to liaise with the government on these kind of policy issues, promoting experts, making the RODTEP slabs attractive, because the erstwhile MEIS scheme was pretty attractive, and then sort of that changed. Preference to make in India on public procurement, because our view is also that a lot of countries globally give you a special concession if you manufacture in their country and supply the products to their patients or to their hospitals. And these are things that we're spending currently quite a bit of time working closely with the government. The good thing is that our government is already very sensitized to these particular issues. They also need to do a balancing act in a country where the dependence on imports is very high. But we've seen them, by and large, extremely supportive. Now, what we are also trying to do is channelize the energy of these small players and saying, where can we help you? Can we help you in your R&D? Can you use our platform to take your products to these 40,000 different surgeons that we go to? We are going to the startup space, and we continuously keep on looking for products, because it's easy to create a product, but then commercializing it, manufacturing it, marketing it requires either enhanced levels of skill or investment or time, and we can help to shorten that by creating this platform where these people can combine strength with us. We get the strength of our innovative product, they get the strength of our distribution, marketing and sales reach, and that can then help us to create a larger plethora of products that can be exported out of the country because of the virtue of them being differentiated. So these are areas that we very specifically work with, either with the government or with the Indian manufacturing space or Indian medtech space.
Excellent. Really, really good stuff. So, Anish, you do have the largest direct sales force in medical devices across the country. Healthium does. But still, how do you market yourself? Tell me that.
It's a very large marketing team we have. We have around almost 30 people in our marketing team. That sort of, one is, of course, create the clinical data. We have a medical affairs department that focuses on creating the clinical data, the clinical papers, getting clinical trials and validations of our product. And then we have the marketing team that sort of, goes and creates it in the form of literature, in the form of promotional material, and works very closely with the surgeons and the hospitals in terms of driving acceptance for them. And then we have the sales team that goes and keeps on reminding these doctors about the products, about the benefits that we bring to the table. And then finally the distributor. This is why we have sort of a large distributor network of 1,200 distributors across the country, because we want to make sure that if a doctor wants the product, in 2 hours for the surgery, the product is available to them.
Wow.
Now I can bring in more supply chain efficiencies by just creating 4 hubs in the country and then supplying the products from them straight to the hospital. But we are not doing that because what we want to make sure is that the product is available on demand. And for that, local presence in a small town or a small mofussil makes a lot of sense. So we have a distributor in pretty much every town that has a population of 50,000 upwards.
Okay.
And that makes the availability a significant advantage for us as a company in terms of getting the products there. These are relationships that have been nurtured over a period of time, and hence it helps us to sort of cater to the market effectively. The marketing team also works very closely with the R&D team in terms of bringing these product ideas to the fore, and then giving these design inputs which the R&D team works on, and then the iterative process requires the marketing to sort of do a lot of back and forth. So marketing is a fairly comprehensive gamut of all this put together.
Correct. And essentially, your products are serious products, and they are not the kind that you'll just pick up OTC, over the counter. In most cases, you might have a tiny exception here or there, a bandage or whatever else apart, So, yeah, definitely the direct channel is going to be very, very important. And it will always need that direct connect, that direct conversations, and direct selling also. But I think what stands you in good stead is that Healthium has respect in the marketplace. So Anish, I'm just wondering, should I ask you this question at all? Because you are, in any case, by virtue of your business and the definition of what you do, you're very purpose driven. But still, I must ask you this, even though everything that you put out benefits mankind. And it doesn't sound like a grandiose statement. I literally mean that. So tell me, what CSR initiatives, specifically over and above all the good stuff that you anyways do ex officio, what are the CSR initiatives that you bring out, that Healthium brings out and supports?
That is sort of the core of what we do. Pavan, is how do we give back to society? And again, it is a function of not only making the products that we do or our presence with a better value product, at least in our sense, but also the kind of activities that we are sort of doing, which is a part of our day-to-day functioning. And I actually want to take this opportunity to educate the people also that sports in India gets a very small portion of CSR funding by companies. I was surprised because I met Abhinav Bindra and he told me that less than 1% of our CSR funding goes to sports.
Oh my God.
So while in a lot of other areas there's a huge amount of investment, companies are making, CSR programs are being driven. Sports is a relatively under-penetrated area from that perspective. And we felt that giving back to the development of sports in India had to be an important part of our CSR strategy. The company has some grand ambitions in terms of Khelo India and the likes, but if this is not supported by by a program that helps players, and more specifically sportsmen who don't necessarily have the financial wherewithal. Because what happens, Pavan, is in a lot of cases, an injury is a part of sport, right? So we've seen that, athlete gets some kind of an injury and then they give up, because in most cases they're also the sole breadwinner for the family. So they give up sports completely. And this was a discussion we had with Abhinav Bindra. And in collaboration with Abhinav Bindra Foundation Trust, we launched what is known as the Sport of Life Initiative.
Okay.
Where Abhinav Bindra Foundation Trust supports players who have sport injuries and need help with the cost of medical treatment, doctors, surgeries, rehabilitation facilities to recover and return to sport. And this is where we work very closely with them in supporting these sports people, because it is in the interest of the country that they get back and start contributing to the nationwide initiative that we have. So that sort of is one area where we are constantly looking for more opportunities. The other is that we recently, and we do a lot of work, but this one I found it very interesting, so I'll quote that. We recently have launched the Early Childhood Development and Care Intervention in association with the Karnataka Health Promotion Trust.
Okay.
Essentially what we are doing is that in a certain geography, we are training Asha workers, we are training Anganwadi workers to go and talk to women who are in the childbearing age on nutrition, on managing their lifestyle much better, so that it impacts infant mortality and also the quality of childbirth that happens, as well as maternal mortality.
Okay.
So this is something that we have recently rolled out. It's a 3-year program. It aims to develop intervention packages, aimed at improving early childhood care and development and build sustainable solutions. So, it'll take about 2.5 years for this entire pilot to work out. But if this works out, then, what we have a commitment from the government is that they are ready to roll out this pilot, across the state and make it all pervasive.
Lovely.
That's another CSR activity that we do. We work closely with some of the IITs. So, we made a contribution in terms of development of new products. And this has got nothing to do with the product being associated with us, that can improve the quality of patients' life. So we work closely with IIT Delhi.
Okay.
And some of the startups that were there, we funded them to help supplement their R&D activities, because R&D is an expensive affair and you do require to fund. So those are some of the activities we are doing on a regular basis to make sure that we are connected.
Wonderful. So will you extend the connection of your Innovation Institute to Delhi IIT?
So we would ideally, they have much better facilities than what we have, frankly.
Okay.
But, definitely that, as well as to the startup ecosystem in this country,
Sure.
we would want them to, come and experiment, do their, test their products at our labs and see if that works for them.
Lovely, lovely. And yes, a whole slew of awards is what Healthium has won, Healthium Medtech. Tell me a little about the ones that are closer to your heart.
The major award is when you go to a surgeon's chamber and, he or she is happy with the product that you've supplied. They like the differentiation because, wherever I've gone, one common theme on the self-reliance has been very, very high. Pretty much everybody has been happy about the fact that there are now companies in India that are, creating products that they would want. And, when you see adoption of your products, that definitely is a big high.
Sure.
But we've got awards on production excellence, manufacturing icon of the year, the Karnataka Export Excellence Award, Indian Medical Device Leader of the Year Award.
Wow.
Which was where we got actually the runner-up award by the DCGI. A gender inclusive workspace. Again, inclusivity and gender diversity is a very big area of focus for us. The Dare to Dream award from SAP and TV9 for digital transformation. That's another area where we're putting a lot of efforts around using digital medium to be closer to the customer. So there have been a few awards, and what is most heartening is if the life of the patient improves, then we are very happy.
Superb. Absolutely. More strength to you, Anish. Just give me a little bit of a back of the envelope progression of your career, as a student, as a youngster, your qualification, where did you join first, and how did you find yourself in and around and completely empowering the whole healthcare system in India with Healthium?
It's been an interesting journey, Pavan. I was brought up in Ahmedabad, did my schooling there, did my college from Pune. Then I was pretty much out of the country for 17 years. Lived in Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, worked in the healthcare space. And then finally I was asked to take on the Indian role. This was with Baxter in 2010.
Okay.
It was a fairly large role because I was running a 45 people team in Malaysia, and I was asked to run a 1,000 people team with 3 manufacturing plants in India. So I was actually pretty shocked that the company was taking such a big bet on me. But that worked out very well because we were able to, grow the company exponentially during that time frame. And we had some 36 quarters of unobstructed growth.
Wow.
Which, then landed me in the position of my boss, where I was taking care of the Southeast Asian and the Indian markets. Ran that for about 3.5 years till I got a call from the chairman of my earlier company. And he said that, we need a turnaround in Baxter, Japan. We think you're the right person. We want you to go there. So early 2018, Baxter asked me to go to Japan. It was a great opportunity because Japan is the second largest healthcare market in the world, very sophisticated. And I was enjoying my stint there. I'd been there for about 6 months. Things had worked out well for us. We were able to strike a great emotional chord between the Japanese employees and myself, and that sort of worked very well. But then the opportunity to create Healthium came.
That was in 2018?
This was in 2018, around middle of 2018.
Okay.
Around July of 2018, this opportunity came to create Healthium. And I thought that this was a once in a lifetime opportunity to make a difference, connect back to my roots in India, also bring the family back and, make sure that my daughter who's with us gets connected with everybody out here. And I didn't know whether this would work or not, but I said, look, let's give it a try. If it works, it would be great. If it doesn't, this is not an experience that every professional can boast of. So that sort of got me here in 2018, and it's been a fun ride. There's never been a dull moment.
Oh, and you have shown, and you've really taken Healthium to amazing heights, Anish. Congratulations for that. I really enjoyed this conversation, learned a lot about the medtech space and all the wonderful work that you've been doing at Healthium Medtech. What did you think about our chat so far, Anish?
I think it was a wonderful chat, Pavan. You were charitable in what we've done, but I think this is just the beginning for us. For Healthium as a company, there's a very long journey that we need to traverse. And I think Healthium has the right set of people, the right set of processes, the right set of products that can really help put India on the global medtech map. I do wish that there will be hundreds of Healthiums over a period of time. It's an opportunity for us to bring our story to the fore. Hopefully, through the podcast, we will be able to excite a lot of youngsters to come and either join us in this journey or, partner with us in some manner, or go out there and create companies like this over a period of time. And Pavan, the fact of the matter is that it's a privilege for us to be here on Mediabrief, because I've seen quite a few of the interviews you've created, and I wasn't expecting that one day I'll get a call from you to be on this esteemed platform. So it's really a privilege that probably Arun has played a role in terms of introducing us to you. But the fact that also you put us on this platform is something that we are really very thankful to you.
You're very kind, Anish. In fact, your presence on MVP The Master's Voice podcast has elevated the stature of this platform, and this conversation with you, Anish, has been very insightful for me, and I'm sure everybody will enjoy it. So thanks very much indeed, Anish, for all the time you've given us today, and thanks also to Dr. Arun Abraham Ishaw of AdFactors PR for having made this interaction possible.
Thank you so much.
Anish Bafna, Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director of Healthium Medtech, was my distinguished guest on this episode of MVP The Master's Voice podcast on Mediabrief.com. Thank you very much indeed for having tuned in. Till we meet again in the next episode of MVP The Master's Voice podcast on Mediabrief.com, this is your host and friend Pavan Chawla saying, take care, stay safe, stay healthy. Bye-bye.